fix the meshes.
Todd made a good suggestion. Maybe we just build a tool that's offline for them, that they manipulate it, and then once you bake it in, then it's...
Yeah, I did want these to be reusable too, so we could go, man, player John made a really cool castle. Not this John, but somebody else, right? Bob, some guy made a castle. That's really cool. Let's just use that in the campaign world. Let's just turn that into one of the ruins.
But we also,
that was part of it too, right? So we wanted to let the users start creating these things that we could then use in the campaign.
We're going to have to create some as well, which would be separate.
Yes.
So for the campaign, I mean, we don't have to worry about this as much.
See, when we create stuff, I would call it, it's like, oh, this is static, right? You went, you create your nice tile with castle and everything, with terrain. It's all settled in. So when we deliver it in game, it's not expected to change. But if some Bob start modifying and doing changes, oh, he may want to put a cobblestones or put, you know, a mound of dirt over there.
Yeah, or move these stairs and all that kind of stuff.
That makes the whole terrain a dynamic system, which is definitely, you know, handleable, but at the complexity.
I assume that
even if it's on the offline process,
I assumed it would be an offline process. Bob would have to check it out and then make a bunch of change to it and then check it in, and then now you could get in and play it.
And yes, and that's what in the end it makes this piece a unique piece which needs to be copied between all the clients who wants to access it. And we will need to keep it on the server, and as a matter, it will be unique. It will not be something that we can pull from our libraries. We'll need to have a separate instance.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So these game objects, right? They are dynamic. Right. Like, there's no way around it. Yeah. So you're talking about the raw terrain.
I'm talking about modification to the terrain, because as I said, terrain object comes in. It's very much static object. Right. Whenever we want to modify it, we either need to go to original data, modify, and make a copy of that, or just put something on top of that.
So we could just make a decision right now that the only thing we're going to allow is dynamic objects on, and then the terrain for a large parcel piece is inherently the same for all of them. Maybe the only difference is, you know, if I drop something here on mine, then whatever terrain objects were there automatically, the plants and stuff, now it basically turns those off, right? It's still the same object. It's not changing it. It's just, you know, turn off plants and stuff like that on any area.
That's a very good point. Yeah, even that, because if you want to drop and there's a bush there, then we need to go and change the detail data and remove the bush from that place.
Yeah, or just hide it, right?
No.
You can't do that?
No.
Sounds easy to me.
It's essentially, what he's saying is essentially, once I get done painting the trees, painting the terrain, and we send that object off, that's it. That is the object.
Yeah.
Even if you were to manipulate one blade of grass, you've now essentially made that a dynamic object.
Right.
So we have to find a way to turn
But hiding those things, I'm trying to keep it static, right?
Sure.
I'm trying to say that okay, it is the same. That grass blade is still there.
You might be able to hide all the
grass.
Because
because there's an object placed here, we're going to hide that blade of grass. Or they're going to hide all terrain objects within this radius because there's an object here. It's technically there, you just can't see it.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how you hide one off, because you can't hide everything, like all the grass. You go in there and you just press a button and all the grass turns off, but I don't know how you would do a section.
That's what I'm saying. But what I'm kind of thinking now, all right, if there is a terrain piece with all the grasses and you know, dirt and bushes and trees, right? So whenever this terrain piece is used in any of the buildings of the campaign, we need to make a duplicate of that, an instance. And then, let's say somebody put a tower in this place, the data needs to be out there. Say, okay, the tower is there, so you erase all the bushes and flowers that grows there.
Okay.
And again, since we have to do it as an instance, because we cannot reuse the original template data. So yeah, I mean that's possible. We can do that. And just you need to keep in mind it will increase the amount of data we need to process and store and also deliver to the client.
Okay.
So every piece, every parcel will become a unique.
Okay, so it's unique, but it's originally derived from that template.
Yeah,
so if we're going to jump to the point where it is unique, does that mean that we can change the mesh as well, or that we shouldn't?
Well, then if it's an instance for this particular setup, yeah, we can change the mesh.
Because it might be that we have, then if it is an instance already, then we give them a tool, and the tool is they can click on any square and say clear it. And when they clear it, that does two things. It removes the grass and bushes from there, and it also flattens it. Right? So then I would come and I would actually clear the areas, and it would look more like the one you've got right now. I would leave this stuff in here uncleared, so it'd be a little bit more like this, but they would always ramp up a little bit wherever I wanted to put this stuff.
So height manipulation, that's going to be like real time. Again, I don't know how City does it, but they must do something, and it's through Unity, where it's...
I don't know, maybe that's way too much work. I just was throwing it out as Would
No,
that
I think that'd be awesome.
I don't
mean,
know.
if you
Is
could do
City a
it.
multiplayer game? Are they when they create their own
I don't
environment
know.
and city layout?
I don't think so,
Do
but I
they
don't-
distribute to everybody else? See,
I don't think
that's
they do.
our challenge. If Bob comes and start creating his own environment and world, we need to push it back to the server,
Yeah.
process it, and then push to all
Right.
Bob's friends who can actually.
But not in real time. It doesn't.
I would love that in real time because
So-
doing that in real time. Is
No, I don't think we do it in
definitely
real time. We did in
It's not
Chatterbait.
bad.
We did do it in Chatterbait
Yeah,
in real
it-
time, and it was a giant nightmare. And it's one of those things that's like you make the work 10 times harder,
Yeah, yeah.
and the actual how much cooler is it? It's cooler, but is it 10 times cooler? I don't know.
Yeah.
So if
Doing
this,
it offline is
if
definitely-
the EK was definitely kind of the its own instance, and it's kind of like when we were Wizards, where people could just go to each other's houses. Is essentially what it was. And then the campaign, we probably wouldn't be able to do kind of quite what you wanted to, where we could just bring in people's stuff. I mean, we would still probably have to build these out.
I don't like that.
You
I want
have
to use
the
other
tool.
people's stuff because then we can get a larger amount of variety in these campaign worlds than our team could possibly create. Right? That's what I'm going for. If we have 2,000 players generating these, we'll be able to find 50 of them that are really awesome. If we build them
I
internally,
mean, I'm still gonna have to
that
build them
means
to
just-
begin with.
well, you have to build the pieces and the parcels.
Yeah, but I'm still gonna have to build for the first set of campaigns. I'm still gonna have to build out the
Yeah, we'll have
designs.
to start some
We're not gonna have
templates,
enough
right?
time for people to bring stuff in. I mean,
Depends on when this stuff is going to get done.
and quite frankly, I think in the beginning, I mean, we'll be able to pump out a better kind of tested version, kind of like how we did this.
Yeah, but doing a variance of this, right?
Yeah.
If I could sit down, if this tool worked, right, I could sit down and create variants of this. And I'm not artistic at all.
Right.
And they would still look great because they're using all of your parts.
Well, basically, what you're asking is whenever someone creates an instance of the castle, you want to convert this instance back into the template and then use for the future development or just use in our campaigns and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Really good idea.